Hi everyone, my name's Crystal, and if you're watching this, I already know we share a concern: the fight for equity in education. Whether you're a college student, a community leader, or someone who believes every child deserves quality learning that actually reaches them, this problem should matter to you. Right now, inequity shows up in so many real ways. In the United States alone, schools in high poverty areas receive about $1,000 less per student than schools in wealthier districts, even though those students statistically need more support to meet the same outcomes. We know that only 23% of teachers across U.S. public schools are trained in personalizing learning design or inquiry-based facilitation, which means most classrooms still default to the standardized instructions. When learning becomes one size fits all, kids who don't have the same access, background, support, or learning styles often fall behind. Not because they can't learn, but because learning simply wasn't built for them. This issue impacts students in underserved communities, teachers who want to help but lack training or resources, and families who want to support but aren't invited in the process. And when we see this through the lens of the Bronfenbrenner's bioecological model, we can understand that barriers don't start with children. They start in systems above them, like curriculum policies, funding distributions, and training structures, which deeply influences the learning environments children directly experience. So, my problem statement is this: equity in education cannot be solved by asking students to adapt to their learning environments. It must be solved by redesigning learning so it reaches every learner fairly. The learning theory that I'm focusing on today is constructivism, which teaches that learners actively construct knowledge through experience, inquiry, and social meaning making, rather than passively absorbing information. Vygotsky explained this concept through the zone of proximal development, which suggests that learning occurs most effectively when it's scaffolded through guided questions, collaborations, and support that meets students at their cognitive readiness level, rather than adhering to a set pace. On the cognitive side, Jean Paget taught us that children build mental frameworks called schemas from what they already know exist. When we connect new learning to existing knowledge, comprehension and retention increases. Cognitivism pairs perfectly with constructivism here because it focuses on what happens inside the learner's mind. Cognitive learning emphasizes memory encoding, schemas, organization, categorized information, and metacognition, thinking about your thinking in essence, and giving students internal tools to organize and process new ideas in ways that stick with them long term. So when we combine them, we see that constructivism supports social building of meaning, while cognitivism supports internal processing of understanding, both essential for designing equitable learning access. My innovation is called the Student-Led Equity Inquiry Project, or EIP for short. In this learning design, students work in small collaborative groups to investigate real inequities in their own school communities or learning environments, like access to materials, cultural representation, or instructional design barriers. They have to ask these hard questions like, who is not being reached? Why? What tools are missing? And how can we redesign so that learning is fair? This solution is constructivist because learning happens through student collaboration, conversation, exploration, storytelling, and community sense making, as well as self gathered explanations. The educator becomes a guide, scaffolding learning through questions instead of answers, helping students think their way into understanding socially. It's also cognitivist because students use tools like mind mapping, sorting big themes into categories, writing personal reflections, visual organization, or thinking, and stop at each stage for metacognition check-ins, like, what do we already believe about this? Has our thinking changed? How do we organize this so we remember it and grow from it? Making learning student-led with both social and cognitive scaffold increase confidence, long-term understanding, engagement, intrinsic motivation, and ownership of learning, which are all equity enhancing moves. Because when understanding is built through multiple access points, more learners often reach comprehension, not just fast memorizers or the kids who already match the system. To make something like this successful, we need real support. We need learning innovation funds and models from organizations. We need community-led equity partnership. We need inquiry-friendly math learning standards and support. We need collaborative digital tools from platforms, and we need classroom ideation portal. The resources enhance effectiveness by providing students with equal cognitive tools, teachers with equal facilitation support, and families with equal access to learning, conversation, and design. So here's my pitch to you. I'm asking you to support innovation that redesigns learning access instead of learner compliance. I ask that you consider helping providing funds, partnership, training, or tools that let classrooms become places where learners build understanding their way, in community, with guidance, cognitive tools, reflections, and ownership. If leaders like you invest in learning innovation like this, we can actually move forward towards classrooms that don't just say equity, but do equity. Thank you so much for listening and caring. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night.